As Tricia mentioned, we're all going to come back together, have a group summary, some key takeaways, and then next steps. So I hope you guys are excited as I am, and let's go ahead and get this party started. So this is one quote that I just picked out real quick. It was such a good quote, especially with what's going on in the world today, from Nelson Mandela. I learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not who does not feel fear, does not feel afraid, but he who conquers it. So I really thought that was appropriate for everything we're going through today with COVID-19 and all the protests that are going on right now. To know that we all feel fear on some level, and there's a reason for that. There really is a valid reason for that. Psychology today defines fear as a vital response to a physical and emotional danger that has been pivotal throughout evolution. So if you think about when humans first started, our life expectancy wasn't that long. And the reason for that is because we were as much the hunted as the hunter. So that flight or fight response has been ingrained in us since the beginning of mankind. And so it is totally rational that we as human beings feel fear. It is part of our DNA. It's part of how we're ingrained in how we learn and view the prism of life. So what are the two types of fear? Well, they're basically two main ones. The first one is what we call rational fear. And so, Tricia, this is where I'm going to pick on you a little bit. If you could turn your audio back on.
I'm ready.
Okay, so you've met me before. We've met once, right? In person. I'm a big guy. For those of you who haven't met me, I am 6'5". I am in excess of 250 pounds.
He's a big guy.
Yeah. So I'm going to set you in a scenario, and I want you to tell me how you're going to feel about it. Okay?
Okay.
You're out at night. You have just finished happy hour with your girlfriends. It's about 9 o'clock. You're walking to your car. It's a dark street. You see me come up. I am dressed all in dark colors on a darkly lit street, and you and I have no choice but to pass. What are you feeling right now as I'm getting closer and closer?
Fear, and uncertainty, of course, yeah.
Okay. Why?
Well, as you're describing the situation, you saw my face kind of melt, right? I felt it inside. Well, one, I don't know you, and two, you're a big guy, I'm by myself.
Right. So I pass, you pass, I smile, you smile, you go on, you get in your car. How long does that fear last?
Gosh, probably all the way home, at least.
Okay. So you feel afraid all the way home, you get home, and then that fear starts to dissipate, right?
Yes.
And it eventually goes away. You're no longer scared of me because I'm no longer a threat to you.
Right.
Okay. That's what's called a rational fear. You hit the nail on the head. You are uncertain about what's going to happen, but you have some idea. Something flashed through your head. I could attack you. I could hurt you. I could kill you. Any of these things are possible. That's what we call a rational fear. You should, unfortunately, in today's world, be afraid of me. That's a rational fear. An irrational fear is a little bit different. An irrational fear is something that you are afraid of, you don't know why, and it never goes away, okay? And I am really speaking, and I told my friends that I would do or say something that would embarrass myself in this seminar. So for those of you in Austin who saw this, this is where it is. I'm gonna tell you a little bit, I'm gonna reveal something about myself that I don't reveal to a lot of people, okay? So here it goes. I suffer from extreme cases of irrational fear. Part of it stems from my childhood. My mother was a 2-bottle-a-day alcoholic. My father basically abandoned me at the age of 13 and moved to Florida to be with his girlfriend. And so I suffer acutely from irrational fear. And it manifests itself in a lot of ways. And I was talking to Austin Tennett, one of our other coaches, about this very subject the other day. And I told him, I said, you know what? On Thursday morning, it was not today, or it was about 2 Thursdays ago, woke up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat, went in the bathroom and vomited. And I went back to bed, brushed my teeth, went back to bed. My wife said to me, what's the matter? And I said, I don't know. I really don't know. And that is the classic case of irrational fear. It's something that scares you, that you can't identify, and it never, ever, ever leaves you. And I promise you, we were not meant to live this way. It's very stressful. It's very hard on the body to always be in that fight or flight mode 24/7, 365. And this is what we really want to drill down on today, is that irrational fear, and give you with mechanisms on how to cope with it. So what are you afraid of? And it's a really great question. So in the next slide, I came up with some statistics and some common things that most people are scared of. So here we go. Fear of being murdered. Your chance of being murdered is 1 in 18,296. Those are not very good odds when you consider there are 300 million plus people in the United States. Second one, car crash. 1 in 103. Not bad. We all drive. I notice it doesn't stop any of us from driving cars, the fact that this number is so high, and that car crash, the death by auto is the single largest killer in the United States. But yet we all still get in our car and drive. So somehow we've managed to make that, maybe take that from an irrational fear to a rational fear, and we've been able to come up with coping mechanisms for it. Terrorist attack. Most of us, I'm assuming all of us, remember 9/11 and worry about that. We go to the airport, we take our shoes off, we take our belts off. I mean, we suffer indignities at the airport that most people would never volunteer for at any other time, any other place in their lives. But if you look at it, being killed in a terrorist attack, 1 in 183,310. Hit by lightning, 1 in 700,000. How many of you actually know somebody that's been hit by lightning? I actually do. It's a good friend of my wife's, but he's the only one I know. And ironically, if you look at this statistic, the thing that's really funny about it is that if you've been hit by lightning once, your chances of being hit by lightning a second time go up dramatically. It almost goes to 1 in 100,000 for whatever reason. I don't know why that is. But let's talk about this last one, because this last one is going to be of interest to business owners. And I pulled this one up just for this presentation and just here recently. Chances of your business failing in the first 2 years, 1 in 3. So you have a 66% chance of having your business succeed through the first 2 years. Those are pretty good numbers. Now I will tell you, the further you get away from year 1, that number increases. By the time you get to year 5, it's 1 in 2. 1 out of every 2 businesses will fail. If you go to year 10, it's 90%. Now, there are things that you can do along the way to help mitigate that, and some of those we're going to talk about today. So don't sweat it. So let's talk about how you conquer your fears. The first thing, if you're suffering from rational or irrational fear, the first thing you have to do is put a name to it. What are you truly afraid of? For some of us, it's dying. For some of us, it's going out of business. For others of us, it's feeling like what you do is not important. We all suffer from some kind of fear. So put a name to it. The thing I find interesting as I went through this process and developing this research is the fear of the unknown supersedes any other fear category there is. Even the fear of dying, the fear of the unknown. So as soon as you can put a name on it, as soon as you can realize what you're scared of, that's half the battle right there. Second step, what is the worst possible outcome? Look, if my business were to fold tomorrow, it would absolutely stink. I love what I do. I really enjoy working with my clients. It would really, really stink. But you know what? I can go out there and find another job. I can go out there and start another company. This is my 5th small business, guys. It's not the first time I've done this. Luckily for me, I've only had one of them that I had to close. One of them failed. One of them I closed voluntarily to do this. but I've only had one fail. And it was horrible to go in there and have to lay people off and tell them that they no longer had a job. It was one of the worst things in my life, and I hope I never have to do it again. But I'm going to be okay. And you know what? So are they. They're going to be fine. They all went on to find new jobs. Some of them better jobs, some of them same jobs. Unfortunately, some of them have worse jobs, but that's the worst possible outcome. So the third question is, how likely is that? And you know, this is where it gets interesting, because how likely is that outcome is, in a lot of cases, it is up to me, but in some cases it's not. I can't control that I'm going to die. We all are. That's just a natural evolution of life. I do have some control over when, where, and how. You know, if I exercise, if I take care of myself, if I eat right, I should live longer, right? And the last thing is develop a plan. My mom used to say, plan for the worst, hope for the best. So when you have that worst possible outcome and you've determined how likely is that outcome, develop a plan to deal with it. Step by step, as detailed as you can make it. And then implement your plan. Even if it's, if I want to live longer, I don't want to die as soon. Okay, what does that look like? Okay, my business needs to be better so it doesn't fail. What does that look like? How do I make it better? What things need to happen to make that a better, that outcome better? So we're going to take about 15 minutes now. Trisha's going to put each of us into breakout rooms, and we're going to talk about our fears, and we're going to talk about how we make them better. And guys, again, as Trisha said earlier, don't worry. There's going to be a coach in there with you to help kind of moderate this process. All the coaches have a list of questions that they're going to ask to kind of keep it going. But I really encourage you to take this time in a very safe space, no judgment, no judgment, or no worry of anything going out anywhere else. And let's talk about this, because the sooner we talk about it, the sooner we can start putting a plan in place, the sooner your life is going to get better. So Trish, I'm going to turn it over to you to kick us all into our breakout rooms. 3 minutes left.
And don't be the guy laying on the floor, right? And Chris's slide.
Right.
So one of the things that I didn't do before we get started was introduce myself, because I feel like I know all of you already. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Trisha Stetzel, and our coaching practice is just south of Houston. And when I say our, my husband and I are actually partners in this business. So thank you all again for being here. And it is now my pleasure to send everyone to a breakout room. Please don't drop off the call and be scared. It's a safe place. And the groups are small. So you're going to have a really wonderful opportunity, in some cases 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 in this room, where you guys can really talk about rational versus irrational and what's going on in your business today, and maybe get a sense of where you want to take it. All right, so I'm going to push the button and off you go. We're going to be gone for 15 minutes. You will see a 60-second countdown when it's time to come back to the main room, and we're going to have a group discussion about the things that you talked about in the breakout rooms. So here we go. And you may, for some of you, you may have an invitation on your screen. Go ahead and click the button. It's okay. It's safe. Hey, Steve, if you want to push the button, I put you in a room with Dennis if you want to hang out with them.